family that that my spouse appreciates, and I love her for that.
Це йде пряма
My role on the
трансляція.
Demo 2
Ілон
mission is
Маск
to make sure
готовить
that we get this vehicle
екіпажі
tested
для
and
запуску.
evaluated so that we can move on to more
Вони
operational missions
готовяться
at the
куди?
International
На
Space
Марс.
Station. We've got a lot of
Стаді будуть
objectives
люди
on
сидіти.
board the vehicle that we need to accomplish to really make sure that it's good to go. We'll make sure all those systems are working during the test flight so that the future missions
переводу
will have
немає.
them available even if they don't plan to utilize
Нам
them.
можна і так все поняти.
Through
Де
years
подготовка.
of the NASA team
Вони
helping to
відказалися
share
від
that
російських
experience and teaching them the lessons that we've learned by going through
ракетоносителей.
this. Now there's another
І перейшли на
capability
своє
in the U.S.
оборудовання.
besides
Костюми
NASA to operate
космонавтів
something
їх
of this
показують.
magnitude. When is the last time
Совсем
humans
другие, не
launched on
такие,
a
как
new
были раньше.
vehicle?
Скафандры
Certainly on
там,
the American side, it's been several decades. Now we're in a time when we've got multiple vehicles under development.
Ну,
It's a
это
great
показывает
time from
украинская
a space exploration time frame just to
Скрытый
see
ее
all that happening, and it's because
журналисты
of this
показывают.
nurturing of the environment,
Откуда
being
они
able to pull
показывают,
in
не
a
знаю.
wider
С
group of people who can
американский.
contribute towards a human spaceflight. It's a super cool time.
Американське телевидение показує.
On a deeply personal level, I'm really excited that my son is going to get a chance to see me launch into space. Being an astronaut has been a little bit of an abstraction thing for him because he's seen me do it in old videos, but he hasn't seen me do it for real. And so I'm excited for him to see this launch. I want to thank the entire commercial crew
Старі
program
костюми
team
навіть
that's
підняли
worked
руку
together to get to
до
this point where
верхнього.
we've got vehicles in the launch pad ready to
Були
head to the
тяжелі,
International Space Station.
неудобні. А сейчас
And we're back live in the room now with
Ой,
Bob
всё,
Lincoln
який
on the
костюм
left of your
у нас.
screen, Doug Hurley to the right.
Ти просить привітати Віталіну з днем народження. Хто така Віталіна? Віталіна, многих благих літ, щоб ти була щаслива і здорова, найголовніше. Там ще, якщо є якісь побажання, будь ласка, я можу їх читати до ранку.
не надо.
Ти у мене зняла з язика. Буду читати до ранку. 50 гривень на фонд «Повернись живим» без проблем.
Тільки нам треба якесь підтвердження.
Ну, на совість будемо. Скрін, да. 50 гривень читаю ваші побажання. Тещам буде дорожче, 75. А то і сотка, можливо, якщо від зятя.
A cup of coffee in hand. Oh, we've got some visitors in the room now. It looks like SpaceX founder Elon Musk to the right of your screen and NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. Of course, you see a partition there to keep them a safe distance from the crew, but they're in there to say hello, wish them well before they depart the suit-up room. That's really cool to see there, and we can't hear what they're saying, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall in there right now.
Lauren, I wonder what Elon is saying.
Oh, just probably telling them how honored he is to be able to give them a ride today.
Самі переводьте.
And I know the
Вчіть
NASA
англійський.
administrator, he talked about this yesterday. I mean, he's met with the crew before today even and said, you know, I've told Bob and Doug, it's not too late to call this off. If you have any second thoughts, and of course they had none. They're super pumped about this, ready to go. And right now it's just, we just need the weather to cooperate.
Yeah, I try to think who could potentially be more excited than the SpaceXers. Bob and Doug.
Yeah, right?
And
Ну,
it's
тоже он,
amazing
Илон
how we
Маск
have
стоит.
commercial and
Чёрном-
government working
чёрной
together to
повязке.
send these two NASA astronauts to space safely. It's just it's a great combination of what we can do when we put our minds to things and be creative and innovative and work together as one community.
I totally agree, Leland. I see Bob and Doug walking around our headquarters in Hawthorne all the time. They're basically family members. They're in the cafeteria. They're getting a drink from the soda machine. Every now and then, there are times when the teams can have breakfast with them, which is really cool. And we call them the dads.
The dads.
They're
Well, they are dads. It's
They
fitting.
are, and they're incredible human beings. They really are. They're brilliant. They're sharp. They are excellent to work with, but they're just
Я в
great
Флориді
people.
очікую на
Yeah.
старт.
No, I'm really inspired and honored to
А що це?
have known these
Значить,
two
старт
guys, and I
скоро.
can't wait to see them launch in space. And I was with you, Lauren, out at SpaceX when we were doing a little tour, and I think you kind of snuck me back in to where they were
Чекають на
training, and I
старт.
got a chance to see them
Наверно, буде
working and
вже
training. But when they came back out, I was having lunch, and everyone around was just like, "Hey, these are our team also."
Yes, yes.
It's really amazing. And Lauren, you said, I mean, you talked about what they're like, and they are just two of the most humble people too. I mean, every time I've seen them do an interview, they're getting asked questions about themselves, right? Because they're the stars of the show. They're the ones getting on the rocket, but
Це ж, наверно,
they
сьогодні
always
буде
bring it
запуск.
back to the people
Я
who
так
made it
думаю.
possible for them. They're always talking about the NASA team, the SpaceX team working behind the scenes that have sacrificed so much to keep them safe
Господи,
and made
такої
sure that
дурньої
they're
має,
always
це
vigilant.
краще
And I know we've talked about this before too, but you know, if you're not looking for something wrong, you're not doing it right.
Кому що
So the
окурки
teams,
просто.
even now, they're
Парад
always looking for
влаштував.
any little thing that could go wrong to make sure that Bob and Doug are safe when they strap in and get going.
Absolutely. Around the office, we don't just say, "Oh, we're launching a rocket. We're launching Dragon." We say, "We're launching Bob and Doug," and that
он пише,
human
3,5
element of
години
this
до пуску.
is essentially leveling SpaceX up in a major way today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, all the technology, all the hardware means nothing
так,
if
це,
it's all about the
короче,
people.
Absolutely.
Ближе
And,
к полуночи буде
you know,
пуск.
we see just a handful of folks in the
Это
room, and
идет
we've
подготовка.
acknowledged the
Вот так.
distance that Mr. Musk and Mr. Bridenstine are standing from the astronauts, and of course, they have
Сегодня,
masks on.
27.05.20
This wouldn't really look that much different, though, even if we
Буде
were not
пуск.
in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, Leland,
куда
you
ж вони
know
летять?
very well what it's like to live in quarantine, getting ready for a mission, and so this coronavirus situation has just kind of underscored the importance of quarantine and keeping the astronauts protected. But can you speak a little bit about what it's like to live in quarantine, getting ready for a mission?
Yeah, we started in quarantine about a week before, before we come
людям
down to the
грошей
Cape to
нема
get ready
куди
for
дівати.
launch. And I think that everyone around you that comes to the crew
Їхні
dinners,
гроші,
they
що
have to get
хотять, те
checked by the
роблять.
doctors. And so we really make this a very serious thing, even without a pandemic going on.
А куди
But I
дівати?
think once we get down here, like we have
Їм є
these
куди дівати.
crew parties for our
Це в нас їх
families. And,
немає.
we can't go to the parties. We have to FaceTime into the parties. But, that's a very serious thing. And we only see our spouses at the beach house and have a dinner and celebrate this momentous moment. But it's a very serious thing, even without pandemics going on.
Absolutely. And obviously, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken are two of the best at what they do. And it's starting to really sink in that the mission is on as you see them in their suits there.
It's getting real.
That's
It's getting
Florida.
real.
So I remember the very first time that I saw
Як
Bob and
дочекати
Doug
ще
in
3
these
години.
suits at a crew training event at SpaceX. Not only did they look
Записи
really awesome,
подивитесь.
Astronauts tend to look pretty
Що вам
cool,
чекати?
but the suits looked like they were from the future. Our team designed the spacesuits to maximize safety and functionality
Включити
with a
пізніше
little bit
до
of style.
запуску.
And so
Так,
here's
добре.
Chris Trigg telling us how the SpaceX spacesuit came to be.
I think one of the things that was important in the development of the suit
Костюм.
was to make it easy to
Рассказывай
use,
про
something that the crew just has to literally plug in when they sit
Chris
down,
Trigg.
and then the suit kind of takes care of itself from there. So the suit is really kind of one part of the bigger Dragon system. It's really part of the vehicle. So we think of it as kind of a suit seat system. So the seat that the crew is in and the suit are in a lot of ways working together. And so it made sense that we were designing Dragon in-house to also design the suit.
Our spacesuit is completely designed in-house. It's built here in Hawthorne, California, in the same building as the rocket and the capsule. The spacesuit is custom-made for each crew member, and that is to optimize the fit for the crew member.
We definitely wanted to innovate and we wanted it to look inspiring, but first and foremost, we wanted it to be safe and
Да,
reliable.
куда ж вони
The
летять?
spacesuit's
На
primary
Марс
purpose
чи
is to protect the crew in the
Вот это
unlikely
да.
event that the cabin were to depressurize.
Ничего
But
себе.
the suit does a number of additional things. It provides cooling and communication to the crew inside of the suit, provides them hearing protection, and the outer layer of the suit is flame resistant, so it provides flame protection as well. When the crew gets in the capsule, they get in their seats and they plug the suit into the umbilical that's attached to the seat. And the umbilical is providing everything that the suit needs. So it provides the avionics or electronics for communications. It's providing the air to cool the suit, and then it also provides gas when needed to pressurize the suit. So it's really a single point that lets the suit do all the things that it needs to do. We designed the helmet in-house. The helmet serves a number of different functions. Obviously, it's protecting the crew's head and it's retaining gas like the rest of the suit, but it also houses the microphones as well as the valves that are regulating pressure in the suit. We had to design the gloves so that they would work with the touchscreens, but the gloves also still had to do a number of other things like the rest of the suit. So all of those things had to come together within the glove. It'll be obviously really amazing to see Bob and Doug in their flight suits, and I think one of the things that's cool about the suit is it's not just a piece of hardware, it's not just a suit, it's a very personal thing. It's Bob's suit and it's Doug's suit. And so seeing the two of them in their suits using it in flight will be just a really amazing thing.
Hey, now that you've had a look at the development of the spacesuit, we thought it'd be pretty cool to show you where our astronauts train to be able to fly on board Dragon.
Yesterday, Dan and I had a chance to spend some time in our crew training facility here in Hawthorne, so let's take a look.
So we are up in the crew training area. This is right where Bob and Doug have been training over the last several months and even years to get ready for this flight. There's a couple of things in the room that we're going to show you real quick. We're going to start off with the cockpit simulator. Now, there are 4 seats inside of Dragon the way it's configured. The 2 in the middle are where the commander and the pilot's seat. So this is the commander seat. This is where Doug Hurley is for this flight. And this is the pilot seat. This is where Bob Bankin is. Once they're in their suits, they can plug them into the seats. They get communications, breathing air, pressurized gas for the suits themselves. Everything just integrated into Dragon systems. But most importantly, right in front of them, we have this set of 3 displays. And these are the touchscreen displays that give them access to Dragon. This is their window into their spacecraft. They're able to see all of the different systems. They're able to take control of Dragon. They're able to see where they are over the Earth or in relation to the space station. They're able to see even when thrusters are firing. And if you keep your eye on this little dot, you've been hearing some background noise. We actually have recorded noises of those thrusters that they're able to hear and see in real time while they're training. There's also some hard-coded buttons for some of the more important things, like the pyrotechnics, if they need to cut the main parachute after they land in the water, and of course the launch escape system. So they spend a lot of time in here just getting familiar with Dragon's control systems, but you need a bigger picture. You need to put it all together. And to do that, we can come over here where you just want something a little more higher fidelity, where you have everything from the seats, the displays, the cargo, all of it, just to really make sure you're training so by the time you get up to space, it feels like you've almost been there before. And that's where we're going to find Jesse.
Oh, hey there. I was just training for my next mission to space. But since you're here, let me show you around. This is our flight simulator, which is basically a one-to-one replica of a Crew Dragon vehicle as far as the functionality and the interior. So the astronauts can get suited up, they can practice entering and exiting the vehicle, they can climb into their seats and actually get strapped in. These seats recline back so that they can access these display panels, which are actually functional. And then they can practice flying the vehicle, manually docking with the space station. They can open and close the hatch. And basically, by the time they get to a day like today, they felt like they've already done the mission 100 times before. Well, I'm going to get back to training, so let's get back to launch.
We're coming up on T-minus 3.5 hours, and all continues to go well for today's launch. Now at the launch pad, Falcon 9 is powered on. Engine and stage checkouts were performed several hours ago. Everything's looking good on those. Now we're currently monitoring telemetry and pressurizing the gas storage vessels on board both the first and second stages. And as I mentioned, the good news is there's nothing significant to report on the rocket. Now on top of the Falcon 9 in the picture there, behind the crew access arm is the Dragon spacecraft. The spacecraft is ready for the crew who you saw suiting up. They'll be walking out here shortly. We'll bring that to you. Functional checkouts of the spacecraft were performed in preparation for the crew arrival. Most recently, the Dragon propellant system was pressurized to the final flight pressure just about an hour ago. And currently, all spacecraft systems are go. Right now on the pad, you can see some silhouettes in the access arm. The ingress technician team is up there. They've opened the side hatch, and now getting ready for the crew to arrive a little later this afternoon. Now, the Air Force range is supporting us today with air and sea space clearance. They've got no issues at this time. We're also releasing weather balloons. The initial balloons have been released. They don't give us a go for launch, but they start to tell us that things in the upper altitude are acceptable if this trend continues. So while we're going to wait on those results to give us a better idea, all the way down to about T-minus 30 minutes, we are anticipating acceptable weather for launch at the upper altitudes. And as you heard earlier, at the ground level, things look like they'll be improving through the afternoon as well as downrange. So things are looking good with both Falcon and Dragon. The weather is cooperating as we count down to liftoff. And we want to see where you're following today's launch from. So let's jump over to Tahira at our social desk.
Thanks, John. And I can tell you the excitement is really building online. Right now, we're up to 700,000 people viewing this broadcast. And Launch America is the #3 trending on Twitter in the U.S. So let's take a closer look at what's being said. Looks like we have Astro Joan, who is just so excited to be on the Space Coast and watching this launch from her driveway. And with that, so jealous to all of you in Florida right now that have the ability to just step outside and witness Bob and Doug make this historic moment. Let's take a look at another. So we have Dave Farrell, and this is the Dave Farrell, the bassist from Linkin Park, which is just sick in general. And it looks like his kids coined the term nerve-sighted for today's mission. And this is perfect. I was actually looking for a word to just describe the jitters and excitement leading up to launch. So Dave, thank you for that. I will be stealing that for today's show. So let's take just a broader look at the conversation online right now with this heat map of the United States. So you'll see that the more purple states show the states with the most mentions of Launch America. And with that, it looks like the Florida Space Coast is really coming alive for today's launch, followed by California, home of SpaceX, and Texas, where our mission control is. So great to see all these home teams showing up for today's historic mission. I want to toss it back to Florida, though, because I have to reiterate, if you have a chance to go to Florida and watch one of these launches in person, it's great. I watched my first one last year, and that was the uncrewed test flight of today's mission. And even then, uncrewed, I literally cried. I mean, you cannot describe the emotion that comes over to see this in person, so highly recommend if you get a chance, go on down to Florida. For those of you just tuning in, we are using the hashtag #LaunchAmerica on NASA's social media channels, so join the conversation with us and maybe we'll show it during the broadcast. So earlier in the show, we polled users on Twitter to see which of you watched the final shuttle launch in 2011, and the results are in. So, looks like about 40% of you were able to watch the last shuttle launch, but 60% of you weren't. And I have to say, I'm not gonna lie, I'm with those 60%. This will be my first time watching humans lift off to space from the US, and I am not kidding when I tell you I am literally thrilled to do this and share it with you all today. So the next question we have for you, as Bob and Doug finish their final suit checks, we would like to know if you were in the room with them right now, what would you say to them on social media? Use the hashtag #LaunchAmerica and we'll show it later on in the show. Now let's head back to Marie at Kennedy. Marie?
All right, thanks to Hira. We're looking live at the back doors of the O&C building. Those are the iconic doors that Bob and Doug are going to be walking out in just a minute. But first, we want to pause to honor today's efforts with our national anthem. And the incomparable Kelly Clarkson treats us now with her virtual rendition from her home to yours.
Гімн співає Америки.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming.
От, 3 часа 24 минути.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
Щось пролітає, сніг чи
O'er
що?
the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rocked, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
And any moment now, we're going to see Bob and Doug walking out. We're looking at the pad right now, but you guys, that just gave me chills listening to that. And we saw them getting into the elevator. So they're making their way down to the first floor where they're going to be walking out of those doors any moment now.
Just so exciting to think, back in 11 years ago when I was going down that elevator and about to walk out those doors, it just brings back these memories of getting human beings to space, working together as a team, and having this entire community around you helping you get off the planet.
Yeah, and Leland, I know you have a really cool memory about somebody special that you saw when you walked out of those doors.
Oh my goodness, Marie, when I walked out of those doors, my chemistry teacher was right there from high school who inspired me to be a scientist. And she said, "Go Leland." And that's what's going to happen when they come out. These people that, their families are going to be there. I wish other people could be there, but it's just an amazing moment.
Yeah, and the shot you just saw there with people carefully spaced apart, we saw them walk out right before the anthem started. It was Vice President Mike Pence along with Elon Musk and Jim Bridenstine. Of course, they left the building just ahead of the crew, so they are standing, we're looking now at the doors, but they're standing just right of that across from the Teslas. There's also a designated spot for Doug and Bob's immediate families. There's that shot now, so we're looking at the back of Elon Musk, Jim Bridenstine, and Vice President Mike Pence. Of course, there's a small group of media there also, and so we've kind of blocked this very carefully to maintain social distancing and those that can't have the masks on. But there's the Teslas waiting for them. They got the meatball. There's the worm in the background and the worm on the back of the Teslas. So, Leland, I know we were talking about this earlier. You had some mixed feelings about the worm, right?
I mean, the worm, the meatball, when I was at NASA Langley, we changed over to the meatball from the worm. So, Lauren, I know you love the worm. It's
worm all day.
All day, really?
All day.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love that the worm is so retro, and it's only fitting that it would be making its way back, bringing the historic just opulence of NASA's past to the present.
I'll let you have that.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, thank you.
But I mean,
Thank
the
you.
chevron and the meatball goes back to Langley's tradition when it was, in aviation, and that gets back to that heritage and that history too. So
I guess, sure. Okay, truce?
Orbits.
Or truce?
I feel like this is a microcosm of what's happening online about the worm. But the meatball's not going away. It's a worm meatball partnership.
There we go.
There we go.
So there's another view there of the crosswalk. There is where Bob and Doug are going to walk out any moment. Of course, they're going to get their photo taken by all the paparazzi there, and we're just standing by for them to walk out. I'm going to check the time, actually, 1:13. So if they walk out any minute now, they're going to be right on schedule to start their final goodbyes and waving to folks, and I'm sure they're going to pause for a photo op. But this is just really amazing. Haven't seen this site since 2011 with STS-135. Of course, Doug Hurley was the pilot on that mission, so this is a really incredible moment.
Yeah, and one of the crewmates that was with him was Rex Walham that we're going to talk to later, and we have. Oh, here they come.
Oh, here they are.
Here they come, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. They've each made this journey twice before for the space shuttle missions, but they've never done this in a SpaceX spacesuit. They've never done this together, and they've never done this on their way to head to a commercially built rocket and spacecraft to head to space.
Marie, I was looking for that Astro van, and I see these white Teslas with meatballs and worms on them. It's just a new era in space travel.
Oh, yeah, they're riding in Tesla Model X's. They've been equipped with cooling units, so once they sit inside, that umbilical that I was referring to earlier will connect to the spacesuit to provide cooling while they're inside of the vehicle.
And you can see them talking and waving with their families now. We just saw them do a virtual hug with their sons.
There's Megan and Karen and their sons, yeah.
They're the dads.
The dads, yeah.
It's so awesome.
Bob blowing his family a kiss. Doug actually got to take his wife and son up to the pad on the tower. Yesterday they tweeted out a photo. That was so cool.
I saw that picture, and it had a prominent worm in the picture, right?
Yes.
I'm telling you, worm all day. Wow. So they're climbing through those DeLorean doors of the Model X. This is totally from the future.
Are they stock? Are they stock Teslas?
And then you see in the front seat there, that's our flight surgeon. He's climbing in, and the suit technicians, there's one, Chris Trigg right there, number 12. He is buckling in. They're both, the two suit techs are buckling in, Bob and Doug, and they're connecting that umbilical.
And Lauren, I know you mentioned this earlier, but for folks that maybe weren't watching then or can't remember, I mean, we're in Florida, it's super hot, super muggy, so how are they staying cool?
There are these portable cooling units. We had one at the ONC building, or sorry, 2 at the ONC building. There are 2 in the Teslas. There'll be 2 in the elevators, and then 2 in the white room when they arrive on the crew arm. So we're just keeping that cool air flowing through the suits. There's actually ducting integrated into the suits to keep them cool. And you can see they're saying goodbye to their families. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome that their families get to come up to the window and obviously get a little closer than everybody else.
There's Megan and her son. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
These are precious moments. This is what it's all about, as I mentioned before. It's about the people. It's about the families and working together as one community to get Doug and Bob launching off to the cosmos, to the space station.
Yeah, it's emotional. It's emotional watching that.
It really is. There they go.
Wow. Now, as we see the convoy begin the journey to the pad, 39A, we are thinking about each and every one of you, our colleagues and friends at SpaceX and NASA, who have had a hand in seeing the Crew Dragon commercial crew program come to life.
And we wish every single one of you could be here up close to see this, but we want you to be a part of this journey regardless of where you are watching today. And so for the next few minutes, while they're making their way to the pad, we want to highlight those people whose hands and words and thoughts built all that we see here today. And we hope all of you watching can feel that pride that each of these NASA and SpaceX team members has for today.
This is Laura Segura from the Commercial Crew Program. We're so excited about this historical day. Congratulations on being a part of the very first mission for human space flight, commercial human space flight ever. We're behind you, Bob and Doug.
I'm Nicole from SpaceX in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Congratulations to SpaceX for hitting another major milestone, and safe travels to Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug, as the launch vehicle chief engineer, we've got a lot of our launch vehicle team here to wish you a very wonderful safe ride on a Falcon 9. Coming up to Demo 2, we're so excited for you. And launch America, it's time to launch. Let's go. Hi.
Hi, this is Perla from Hawthorne headquarters. We want to wish Bob and Doug a safe trip to the International Space Station. Go Dragon!
It's been 9 years in the making. This is such a historic time, and our team has worked so hard, and we're very excited to be here. Go Bob and Doug!
Hi, this is Sam from McGregor, Texas. Go Bob and Doug, go NASA, and go SpaceX.
Sean O'Rourke from Johnson Space Center. Bob and Doug, wishing you a great flight. I just wanted to tell you good luck.
Hi, I'm Dustin Kamak with NASA Kennedy's Communications and Public Engagement Directorate, and we all want to wish Bob and Doug safe travels and Godspeed. You are both an inspiration to us all. Now, let's get out there and launch America. Let's do it. Come on, launch America.
And we are following the convoy. And Leland, Lauren, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so glad that we had the chance to hear from the NASA and SpaceX teams that have been working behind the scenes, because, Lauren, I know you know this all too well. I mean, these people have been working not only for, the last, since 2014 when SpaceX won this contract, but, I mean, working long hours, long reviews. Coronavirus happened, and then they're homeschooling their kids, still trying to get through all the final checkouts and closeouts to get to today, and we made it. And now we're just waiting on the weather, but it's just great that they got a chance to wish Bob and Doug good luck.
Absolutely. It is a bummer that we can't all be here in person, but to have that opportunity with that wall of cheers is pretty cool. And you're right. I mean, it's been years of extremely hard work. Fortunately, we've had little milestones along the way, like Demo 1 and IFA, the in-flight abort mission, but it was all leading up to this. And I speak for all of my friends and colleagues that are still working on this program. Today is a career just high for all of those people, if not the pinnacle of it.
Absolutely, and I know Doug and Bob appreciate them so much. And as they continue to make their way to the pad, the next astronauts to make this journey are also watching very closely. NASA astronauts Shannon Walker, Victor Glover, and Mike Hopkins, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi will also be flying. They'll be in the Crew 1 mission a little later this year. Of course, that's after Bob and Doug return home. Now, Crew 1 will be the second space flight for Walker and Hopkins, who each flew on the Russian Soyuz. And it will be the first space flight for Glover and the third space flight for Noguchi. He flew on both the Space Shuttle and the Soyuz previously. Now, the Crew 1 mission will be the first in a series of rotational flights to station after Demo 2, once NASA certifies the SpaceX systems for regular crew flights. And right now, Victor and Mike are following along from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and they are standing by to talk to NASA's Daryl Nail. Daryl, are you? All right, I'm sorry, we don't have Daryl, but as we continue to follow the convoy, we've got actually a little chase car following the convoy. I think we're going to be actually talking to Victor and Mike from right here. Victor and Mike, are you there?
We are here.
All right, hi guys. I'm just going to ask you first. You're going to be two of the next people to get on board Crew Dragon. So what are all your thoughts and feelings as you're watching Bob and Doug in the Tesla right now?
As you can imagine, there's a lot of emotions. Of course, we're excited for Bob and Doug, excited for NASA, excited for SpaceX, and really the whole country. A lot of pride in what it's taken to get to this moment, all the thousands of people that have contributed to getting to this moment. But then there's also a bit of sense of duty of business as usual. So for us, we're going to be watching, we're going to be listening, we're going to be learning, and all of that to help get us prepared for when it's our turn.
And your mission called Crew 1. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it was also great to see them walk out just now and say goodbye to their families and do the virtual hugs. That was great. There are a lot of emotions, but that's probably the best one.
And Victor and Mike, I know recently you had Shannon Walker and Soichi Noguchi also assigned to the Crew 1 mission with you. What can you tell us about them and your relationship with them and your training so far with them?
Yeah, you know, I'm very excited about Crew 1. We've got a very experienced crew. You guys hit on that a little bit earlier. Of course, Shannon, she's been with NASA for around 30 years. She's been with the astronaut office for more than 15 years, and of course Soyuz long duration, so she's seen a lot around here. Soichi, you know, with Jackson, he's done it all. 1996 when he first became an astronaut, shuttle, space station, short duration, long duration, spacewalks, you name it. And so, you know, we kind of late in the game here had our full crew complement, and so it's really helped getting them in with all of that experience. It's really streamlined the process for our becoming more cohesive as a crew.
Yeah, you know, they really hit the ground running. We showed up to our first sims, and it felt like we had done it several times before. And so it's great because we do have a lot to get done. We not only have to learn to fly and to operate the Crew Dragon spacecraft that Bob and Doug are going to do later today, God willing. We also have to be ready to do all of the things that a crew on board the space station does. The spacewalks, the research, the basic upkeep of the space station. And so we also have all that training going on as well. And that's what we've been doing for the past several months together.
And now I have a specific question for Mike. I know that you've flown on the Russian Soyuz, and not specifically on Space Shuttle, but can you talk about the tradition of the ride out that we're seeing now?
Yeah, the ride out, you know, it's very symbolic. It's symbolic of that transition, the transition from months and years of preparation to the actual execution of the mission itself. And so for the astronauts, for Bob and Doug right now, it gives them an opportunity to reflect on all of the work that it took to get to this moment, but then it also gives them time to focus on the job, to really mentally prepare for game day. And then when you think about DM2 and this particular mission, you know, that's this symbolic of this transition from almost 9 years where we have not had human launch capability in the U.S. to a new age of government and private partnerships that are going to be launching humans into low Earth orbit and beyond. And that's happening right here from the United States of America.
And a question for Victor, because I know, you know, if all goes well, when you fly on Crew 1 a little later this year, it's going to be your first trip to space. Can you put yourself in the seat right now, in the car with Bob and Doug? I mean, walk me through what that's going to feel like for you, knowing you're headed to the launch pad, you're going to be launching into space for the very first time.
You know, it'll be tough to, or it is tough now to imagine what those feelings are going to be like. We were able to simulate that and run through a day of launch exercise and ride out in the Teslas to the launch pad, up the elevator, up the set of stairs, and out the crew arm to where the vehicle would be. And just that day was amazing to me. We were able to do it with the full convoy, and to see what that would be like. And that was overwhelming after being a kid watching something similar to that on television. And so I can't imagine what it's going to feel like on our actual day, but I tell you what, I'm looking forward to it. And again, to go back to that moment where Bobby said goodbye to my boys, and Karen and Megan, I can't wait.
Запитання зрозумів, відповідь думаю. Антошенька, проблема тут в чому? Проблема тут в тому, що велика країна, багато місця. Тому рознесені різні підрозділи в просторі. Зараз вони їдуть на так званий стіл, тобто стартовий майданчик, звідки буде ця ракета туди, до зірок. А їдуть вони, наприклад, з тренувального центру. Це може бути адміністративний центр, там може бути госпіталь чи медична частина, там праворуч склади, можуть бути зони, де люди живуть. Це ж велика пенінсула Флорида. І вони знаходяться на крайньому півдні.
І керується це все з Х'юстона?
Я не знаю, я не можу сказати точно. У нас же тут була дискусія між мною, Катєю і Богданою. Ну, така обмін думками, така. Тому що основний командний центр НАСА знаходиться в Х'юстоні, штат Техас. Тобто це 1000 миль. Х'юстон у нас проблема. І як вони вирішили цю проблему? Вони запхали цю скрепку. Скрепку. Просто не запускав стартовий движок. Скрепку вставили. От, да. І, значить, питання що? Питання звідки і куди їдуть на стіл. Там правдоподібно їх зустріне Дональд Трамп з караваєм. Дівчата в вишиванках мають бути такі, гей, гуцаца, Порошенко прийде, перерізати стрічечку жовто-блакитну. Так, скажи, Богдана, я говорю. Ну це 50 років.
Нас глядачі запитують, як вони в НАСА живуть без офісу простих рішень. Дикуни чи що? Дикуни чи що? Без офісу простих рішень і результатів. B4D4CC C4D
is the perfect backdrop for today's historic launch that marks a new first and a new era in human
З Х'юстона чи в нашому
But with
хусті?
new vehicles being designed and launched, this launch pad required some major upgrades.
А це охорона на чорних машинах вздовж цієї дороги?
Ні, це якась щось сигнал якийсь глушать. Ну да.
Аваков?
Ну, якщо сигнал глушить.
Аваков.
По-любому охрана
Не
яка
знаю.
то.
Там зверху у нього
Охрана.
антени, ясно. Дві поліцаї спереду і ззаду. Всіх розганяють.
Може там ракети?
Може, оце Аполло 11 в куточку. Це Бас Олдерен. Це Бас Олдерен. А це перший шаттл, який їх ловили.
Це так красиво.
Це фантастика просто. Мені було 13 років, коли я це побачив. Вперше. І щось Радянський Союз це показав. Не знаю, чи. Висадку на місяці. Угу. Ми ж тоді почали, ми, власне, тоді зійшли, хлопці були, що ми розуміли. Ми тоді зійшли з розуму на Америці. Це для нас було щось таке міракл. У нас стратегічна помилка. У нас же ж були в школі змагання назвати всі між хлопцями, назвати всі 50 штатів і всі столиці. А вони ж не співпадають, головні міста, як згодом з'ясувалося. Ну і пішло там фантастику читати, от все, Гаррісон якийсь там, про якого мало хто сьогодні. О, і це, між іншим, Кеннеді, це його промова, коли він сказав, що ми за моєї каденції ще будемо в космосі? Висадимось на місяць. Це Кеннеді стартанув цю програму, це правда. Це щось, да.
Це вони під'їжджають вже, так?
Ну це їдуть, так. Да. Оце в лівому куточку, Антон, зараз в екрані, це є цей стіл так званий, звідки ви. Фур! Ад Астра. Фур! Ад Астра.
Пів!
До зірок.
Пів!
Оце бачиш, те, що я казав, тримають ракету, бачиш, поки розгонну швидкість не набере потрібно. І там можна квиток купити на це дивитися. Ну так, через корону. От в такому шатлі я був, в Ендеворі, в музеї. Ну там, очевидно, демонтоване все обладнання серед нічого, ну каркас один тільки стоїть. І черга така, діти тішаться просто. І як ви зауважили, от будь-яка публічна процедура в Сполучених Штатах, чи це футбол, чи громадські збори з приводу того, як де поставити світлофор, починається з виконання національного гімну.
Понятно.
І це дуже
Все по етикету.
Будь-який публічний захід. Ну, правда, на весіллях я не чув. Ну.
Мікрофон.
А що?
Нас не чути, чути тільки Дена.
Бу-бу-бу. Хорошо. Це вона...
Ніхто не повірить в це ніколи.
Ей, ти смішна, Катя, в хорошому сенсі цього слова. Дайте бігом.
О, SpaceX ще десь близько, я думаю.
Це що, Джордж Клуні?
Не побачив.
Ні. Space. Це він, так? Да? Що там? Ага, Falcon Support Building. Falcon?
Ну, хорошо, да.
Ну, добре. Falcon – це орел, да? Птах. Falcon.
Falcon.
And you can see on your screen, Bob and Doug are getting very, very close to pad 39A. In addition to these launch pad upgrades, SpaceX also made changes to both Falcon 9 and Dragon to enable flying crew. A key update to this latest version of Dragon is its highly reliable launch escape system that is capable of carrying crew to safety at any point during ascent of the rocket.
Змучиться це
Sorry, I'm just
тримати.
waiting for that pullback moment on the camera where we're going to see their cars roll right up to the pad. Another key upgrade, though, for everything today is Dragon's new life support.
Вони прямо в ракету заїдуть?
Да, прямо безпосередньо.
Прямо в ракету.
Я подумав, скільки мільйонів людей в Америці тепер це дивляться. Тут забиті паби.
Забиті домашні паби.
Приїхали на стіл.
Regulating temperature and humidity,
Ну, це відповідно з одного боку Ocean, з другого боку
The changes to
мексиканська
Falcon 9
затока.
were small, but extremely
Цих палець,
meaningful to
вони
meet
тут.
NASA's
Ну,
requirements for safety for human spaceflight. And specifically,
Тут.
SpaceX had to prove a high degree of fault tolerance,
І
meaning
тут
that small
така
failures in
низка
the system would not
островів
lead
є
to mission failure.
під пальчиком на 100 миль, більше ніж на 100 миль. І там і закінчується в Кі-Вест, де Старіке море. І там до сьогодні цей бар Хемінгуея, куди він ходив, де сотні тисяч бюстгальтерів висять. Жінки з усього світу, я не знаю, з чим це пов'язано, просто приїхати і повісити.
В Антарктиді, в нашому барі.
Так, там теж таке, так?
Я не знаю, в Антарктиді на станції Вернадській є бар, який в станції академіка Вернадського, де є бар Фарадей, і там він існує вже від британців, відколи ця станція була їхньою, і там започаткувалася традиція, що якщо дівчина зніме свій бюстгальтер та повісить його на барну стійку, ні, вона отримує випивку безкоштовно. Вона отримує нашу горілку, яку там женуть безкоштовно, з маленького самогончика, саморобного, який привезли туди ще, по-моєму, перша експедиція, яка їхала на станцію Академік Вернадський. І там ціла колекція, це фактично такий музей моди жіночих бюстгальтерів, починаючи там з якихось 50-х років.
Цікаво про Флориду, цікаво цей Space Center, Флориду. А дуже добрі традиції. Так от ця мережа оцих островів, останній з них Кі-Вест, там 90 миль видно Кубу. І цікаво, що там ніколи не буває ніяких крадіжок. І на цих островах. Розумієте чому? Ні. Тому що там одна єдина дорога, яка виводить, власне, на Флориду з островів. І ти що би ти не вкрав, ти все одно будеш їхати. І там поліцейські відділки просто кожні там, покроково стоять. Немає ніякого сенсу. Там немає фактично кримінальних злочинів.
Коротше, зараз подивимося.
Така історія.
So we're looking now at the Crew Dragon capsule on top of the Falcon 9 rocket, the impressive crew access arm. That's that black and white kind of hallway you see there. That's how the crew make their way.
З чого вони на Вернадського самого роблять? З піневінів? Якщо подумати.
Треба дізнаватися в експертному середовищі, в експертних колах. Я думаю, ми покличемо. Нас вже, до речі, наші глядачі просили його покликати ще раз.
Все покажуть, куди вони полетіли.
Будемо говорити про Антарктиду і пінгвінів.
This person says it's happening, and I can't
А
read
ви
the
не
rest of
читали,
it
яка
right now,
висота
but
ракети цієї?
lots of people really getting pumped using the hashtag Launch America online. Somebody says they're watching live now.
Хто питає, то сам запуск буде за 3 години, трошки менше, ніж 3 години. Там величезний таймер, що я не показувала, він час від часу з'являється на екрані. Там було 2:57, він час від часу з'являється на екрані, то це значить, коли буде точно запуск корабля.
В Україні.
Do these suits have colors to designate the two astronauts? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of, but their names are on the suits.
Maybe that
А вони вийшли, сіли і кудись далі будуть їхати, да?
Значить, Антон, він має висоту 70 метрів в різних версіях. Діаметр 3,7, масу 549 тонн, між іншим. Вантаж може взяти 22 тонни. ГПО, що таке, я не знаю. Статус блок. Ванденберг, центр Кеннеді, Канаверал. Це Кейп Канаверал називається. Кейп, да. Успішних, невдалих, перший запуск 11 травня 2018 року, останній запуск 22 квітня, довжина. Читати тобі по ступенях?
Вони їх ближче підвезли просто.
arts and
Антон вже
mathematics, and I
іншим
think, you know,
зайнятий, тим
SpaceX has done an incredible job of
Втратив
making
вже.
things look really beautiful and functional, and you know, everything just fits perfectly. And I think, you know, when we were having our launch pad, there were hoses and things hanging off, but this is a very sleek and elegant and kind of futuristic look at the next era of space travel. And you know, I just love seeing these Teslas versus the Astrovan. Are they doing selfies?
Looks like they're trying to strain to see the top of the Crew Dragon, just taking in the sight.
It's pretty high.
And I don't know if you caught this one. We could see it briefly on the shot, but the license plate says ISS BND, ISS bound.
Oh,
You
nice.
follow?
Nice.
Yeah. And hopefully they will be today. We just need the weather to say, I mean, it looks pretty nice right now, right? But I mean, obviously it's not just what the weather conditions are here. They've got to think about downrange in case of an abort,
лифта.
make sure it's okay for
Сідають
recovery if
ліфт.
we get into a situation like that, which is
Всё.
unlikely.
So this elevator is going to take them up to level 255. It's not 255 floors, but that's 255 feet. And from there, they'll take, once they get up there, and this elevator is pretty zippy, so they'll get up there pretty quickly, they'll get out, and they'll walk up another flight of stairs to level 265, and that's where they will greet the crew arm.
Ну все, дальше я не буду дивитися.
And I don't know, well, obviously Leland's been in the elevator. Lauren, I'm pretty sure you've been out there too, but the first time I rode in the elevator, I was like, whoa, we're really moving in this.
Конец.
Pull some G's.
A little bit of a jolt when it
Запись.
first goes.
Yeah, you get used
До
to it.
дальнейших.